Hello there, soulmates. Welcome back to our channel. And on today's tutorial, I am going to be taking you through how to draft a half scale bodice using the bustier technique. So let's get into it. So here you'll see that I already marked down my guidelines, which is the one at the top and on the side. So from those guidelines, I am taking down my bust measurement divided by 2 inches plus additional 3 inches. So that is what I am marking down there right now. Then I divided back that block into 2 to get the midpoint. So that is what I am marking down there. Then the next thing I am going to do is to get the length, the front waist length of the measurement that I used for this pattern. And the front waist length is actually 16 inches. So I marked it down through to the point of my bust divided by 2. To get your block measurement, you make use of the apex part, which is the biggest part of your measurement. And for this half scale, the biggest part of your measurement is actually the bust. So I divided the bust by 2 and added 3 inches is for allowance and space for me to be able to do whatever alteration that I want to do after drafting the bodice, which you should also do. You can add as much as 3 inches or even 4, but make it at least 2 inches. So now the next thing I want to do here is, you can see I already connected the lines. So I have the front part and the back part. So here I was taking down the back width, which is 14 inches, and I divided it by 2 to get 7 inches. So I'm noting down the center back and the center front of the block. So I've marked down the back width 7 inches, which is 14 inches divided by 2. I got 7 inches. So I marked it down, and on that point in the front I came down by 1.5 inches, and in the back I came down by 1 inch. Take note of that because we're going to come back to that as we go on in this tutorial. So the next thing I did was to get the neck width and neck depth. So for the neck width, to get it, you divide your bust by 12 inches and then you mark it down as the neck width and neck depth for the front. But for the back, you mark it down as the neck width for the back and make the neck depth 1 inch. So that is what I just did now, and then I connected with my curve and also did the same for the back. Please note how I placed my curve for both sides. So I needed a round shape in front, so I made use of the round part, and on the other side I made use of that edge. So here I am connecting my neck width to the shoulder slope, that mark that I took in the other time. So I have connected it now to the 1.5 inch, and I did the same for the back, marking down where that point is. So the next thing to do is to get the chest line, and to get the chest line you divide the bust by 6 inches, add additional 1.5 inch, and when you do that, for the measurements that I used there, I made use of bust 36. So I divided by 6 and it gave me 6 inches plus the 1.5 inch extra that I have to add to it. It is a constant, so I made use of that. I added it to it and I had 7.5. Then I went ahead to add the 1 inch that I came down the back of this block by, the 1 inch at the back. So that is what I added to it to give me 8.5 inches. Don't bother about the front, it's just the 1 inch at the back that you add to whatever you get for your chest line, which is bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So I went ahead to mark it down from the front to the back to the center back. So you mark it across and connect it with a straight line. So you mark down your chest line, take note of that, and You can see how I'm going through it, marking it down with a straight line, connecting it. There is chest line in front and there is also chest line at the back. So I noted it down there like that. Then the next thing to do is to get the bust point, which is the shoulder to nipple measurement. And the bust point for the pattern that I'm drafting is 10 inches. So I mark down the 10 inches. Note that there is no bust point at the back because we don't have bust at the back, right? So I just marked down the 10 inches in front and connected it with a straight line. Then I went ahead to mark down the under bust measurement, which is 13 inches. We don't have bust at the back, so we don't need under bust measurement for the back also. So that is what I have there. I went ahead to just mark them down, and that is what you see there. So the next thing I need to do in bust that technique of drafting, there is difference between the front waist length and the back waist length. So for this class, if you've not taken or checked, you can check through our measurements, accurate measurements class to understand how to get your measurement. So for the front I have 16 inches and for the back I have 14 inches. So I went ahead to mark the 14 inches. So that means the front is shorter by 2, the back is shorter by 2 inches from the front. So I marked down that 2 inches from the hemline and I took it up and connected it together. So that part is no longer part of our pattern. So that is why I am slashing it out like that. I'm making a line there. We won't be making use of that part anymore. We won't be doing anything on that part anymore. So now we are getting through it gradually. So the next thing to do is to get the bust measurements, taking my horizontal measurements. So I'm taking down the measurements. The bust is 36 inches divided by 4 gives me 9 inches plus 0.5 ease allowance. Make sure you add your ease because you don't want your clothes too tight fitting, so you add the ease. And on the waist I measured the waist divided by 4. Waist divided by 4 is 28 inches divided by 4 gives me 7. Then I added 1.5 inches that allowance. You can make use of as much as 1 inch for a plus size, but for this size I am good with 1.5. So I went ahead to do the same, to make the same marking at the back also and connect with a straight line. So after this, the next thing you want to do is to get your armhole. So to get the armhole, you are going to take in the same measurements you took in for the back width on the chest line. So you go ahead and take it down. I have 7 inches, so I marked it down and then connected with a straight line. Just connect it to the chest line like that from the shoulder slope, and also connect the back as well to the chest line from the shoulder slope, and there you have it. Then the next thing is to get the armhole, and to get the armhole I went up the chest line by 3 inches for the front and then went in by 0.75. so that 0.75 is where I'm connecting the shoulder slope to the shoulder point to. Then I placed my curve to touch the chest line towards the bust, connect it to the bust measurement. So that is what I have for the front. And then for the back, you divide the armhole, that line between the chest line and the shoulder line, you divide it into 2 and mark it down. After marking it down, you go ahead and connect with and come in by 0.5 inch and then connect it together to the shoulder slope like that, then connect to the bust. So that is what I just did, and we have our armhole and everything is coming together gradually. So because of the fact that we're doing a bust dart technique, we have to tighten the sides of we have to create a bust dart on the front part. Before I went ahead to do that, I marked down the darts. I took the dart measurement to mark the dart measurement, I divided the bust span by 2. So after dividing by 2, I marked it down there and came down that line by 1 inch. So you can see what I have done there. I came down that, you connect to the bust point. So from the bust point, I came down by 1 inch, and then I took in the 0.75, which is the 1.5 inch allowance that I left before, divided by 2. So I took in the 0.75 inches on both legs and connected to that 1.1 inch point that I came down by. So for the back, you don't want a situation whereby you make a dress and then the back is just bulging and not well rested on your back. So you have to do a tightening at the back, at the center back. So that is what I am taking in there. I took in 0.75 inch, and then I went ahead to confirm the midpoint of the chest line to the neckline of the back. So once I did that, I marked it down like that, and then connected the tightening to that point. The 0.75 tightening that I did, I connected it to that point. So that is what I did there, and that is what you just saw now. Now we are almost getting there. The next thing to do now, so that part will no longer be part of the pattern. You can see we're going to cut it off. It's no longer part of the pattern, and don't worry about the measurement. It is not going to affect your measurement at all, because we need to take it out because it's actually going to bulge out, so there is no need for it. So now I want to take the back dart, and as you can see, if I go ahead and take it from that straight center line, I will have a little space at that point, because by the time I take in the dart, that space between the tightening and the dart is going to be very tiny. So that is why I went ahead to take the measurement from the tightening, took it towards the side back, and then I confirmed what I have from the center back to that point, and then I marked it down on that chest line also. Then I came down by 1 inch again and connected the dart leg together. So I have the first dart leg and the second dart leg together like that, and then the next thing I'm going to do is the bust darts, because we want to make sure the sides of the pattern are connecting together. We want to make sure that the sides connect together. So I am going to reduce the side of the front by 2 inches. So to do that, I went ahead to mark 2 inches from the chest line, from the bust point downwards. So from that bust point, you mark 2 inches downward and connect it to the dart leg, which is the bust point, and I've gone ahead to do that. So the next thing to do is to tighten the neckline. You don't want bulge on your shoulder line, so you have to tighten the neckline. So I'm tightening the neckline by 0.725. So I tightened it by 0.25, and that is what I marked in front and also at the back. That tightening point with straight line to the shoulder point and the other side also. So for you to get your front bodies to be equal to the back, all you need to do is just tighten the close the bust dart. So here I'm just labeling. I noted my center front, center back, and side back, and that's the end of the class. Kindly like, share, and also subscribe to this channel.